Kamala Harris had a book event tonight in which she was protested several times while trying to claim the old guy with the leaking brain. Yeah, I was against everything he stood for. I just didn't mention it in public while I was running for president when it might have helped me win. Harris distances herself from Biden as book tour begins amid pro-Palestinian protests. Divisions in the Democratic Party over Israel policy dogged former Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. Yeah, she kind of brought that on herself. Former Vice President Kamala Harris, in the face of repeated interruptions from pro-Palestinian protesters, attempted to distance herself from then President Joe Biden's response to the war in Gaza on Wednesday evening during the first stop of her tour to promote her new memoir, 107 Days. Quote, people in our administration can tell you what my voice was in those rooms, in those closed rooms in the Oval Office. I was not the president. I couldn't make the decision, but I made my position clear, Harris said before a crowd of roughly 1,500 people at the town hall, a venue in Midtown Manhattan. Harris, however, did not spell out specific policy differences she had with the administration in which she served. Well, you know what? I understand, like, you weren't the president, but you had a lot of really good opportunities to present that to the American public when you were fucking running for president.
Exactly. Yeah.
You were interviewed several times
Right.
and asked questions about your views on this. You had many, 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 many opportunities to make it clear to the American public you had a different point of view. But of course, she didn't have a different point of view.
I just have to say, stories like this are a real blast from the past because, during the Biden years, we criticized the Democrats more because they were in power. And now that the Republicans are in power, we criticize the Republicans more. And so nowadays, with all of Trump's failings and just buffoonery, I think to myself, is there anyone dumber than these MAGA chuds? But then you do a story like this and you're like, there are. You're reminded. There are. Like, yes. I'm sorry, how fucking stupid do you have to be to go to a Kamala Harris book event about her bullshit campaign and a memoir called 107 Days? Like, I'm sorry, they are still number one.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's part of what was so remarkable about this, because as you'll see in the footage, who knew Kamala has stands still?
Yeah, right, exactly.
That she has stands. And I'm going to show you some of the responses on X, which are completely wrong. Right. These people pride themselves on being the smart, informed people, and we're going to take that apart. I'm sure you didn't need any more evidence, but we're going to provide you with some. Okay, so this is some of the footage of Kamala being protested.
Your legacy is genocide! The blood of the Palestinians is on your hands! You pledged your full support for Israel while they shot babies, while they blew babies up, while they burned Palestinians alive! Your legacy is genocide! You care more about protecting an apartheid state than defending the rights of Americans! Shame on you!
When I first saw it, I was like, is that Kynan? No.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
All right. Good for that kid, whoever he was. I haven't seen a name. So this is where she basically talks about how she used her inside voice.
Back to this point, it seems like, we need to talk about it a little bit more, is 5 months after October 7th, I gave a speech at the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge in commemoration of Bloody Sunday. And I was the first person at the highest level of our United States government or administration to talk about the fact that the people in Gaza were starving.
Who are these people?
That was a year and a half ago. and to talk, and people in our administration can tell you what my voice was in those rooms, in those closed rooms in the Oval Office. I was not
Keyword being
president.
closed.
Yeah, closed. Yeah.
I didn't.
Now, I was on your
couldn't
side the
make
whole time.
decisions, but I made my position clear.
You didn't make your position.
Well, you
I
made
can't
your
take this.
position perfectly clear on CNN,
Yeah.
on CBS. You did make your position clear. That's one of the reasons that you lost. But now she wants you to believe she had a completely different position than she presented to the American public that was litigating whether or not she should actually be the commander in chief. So finally, in this clip, you can see, and you always see this when you protest these Democrats. You have these fucking censorious prigs. Get out! We don't want you. Like, I mean, look, I knew that you'd have people like that for like Rachel Maddow when me and Jose went and protested Maddow. It is amazing to me that anyone has that depth of feeling about Kamala Harris.
It's amazing that there's anyone here. It's amazing that there's anyone who's buying this book.
She packed the house.
Who could buy this book?
Well, I can't imagine the book is doing well. I'd be pretty fucking surprised, but I don't know. Why don't you take a look up some sales figures while we play this video? I'm actually curious now.
All right, let's take a look.
Which side you're on? Which side she on?
What side she on?
I'm not president right now. There's nothing I can do.
They applaud that. I'm not president. There's nothing I can do. Yeah. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Jesus Christ.
I understand the pain that person just expressed. I understand what this moment is. It's
torture to
whether
watch.
it be what's happening in Gaza, or just so many things right now that are absolutely unconscionable and so painful to know could happen, and that our president and our government is standing by and allowing people like Putin and Kim Jong-un to get away with whatever. They're laughing at us right now.
Oh, I thought you were going to this. What?
And so I get it, but I would like to continue with the conversation. And
Wow. So the guy's talking about Israel. I feel your pain. It's the guy's protesting Israel. Is like, yeah, I feel your pain. It's unthinkable that the president could let Putin and Xi and Kim Jong-un get away with it. What?
Yeah, so let's look back a little at what she was saying with her outside voice when she was, campaigning for president, when she had the opportunity to distinguish her position from the Biden administration's position. Harris doesn't support arms embargo on Israel, a top advisor says. Remember this? This is August 8th. Her national security advisor offered one of her first firm policy positions on the Gaza war a day after she had two exchanges with Palestinian supporters in Michigan, one cordial and one confrontational. You remember this? So this was her opening pitch. Her opening pitch was no change.
Right.
I'm not going to change anything that the administration is doing. Then it was about 2-3 weeks after they put out that statement. She went on CNN, and Dana Bash, for whatever reason, decided to do her fucking job. And really pressed her on that question of an arms embargo.
President Biden has tried unsuccessfully to end the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He's been doing it for months and months, along with you. Would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel. That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
Let me be very clear. I'm unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not going to change. But let's take a step back. October 7, 1,200 people were massacred. Many young people who were simply attending a music festival.
Outside a
Women
concentration
were
camp.
horribly raped.
Debunked.
As I said then, I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed.
The liberal buzzword
And
matters.
we have got to get a deal done. We were in Doha. We have to get a deal done. This war must end.
In the meantime-
And we must get a deal that is about getting the hostages out. I've met with the families of the American hostages. Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
But no change in policy in terms of arms and so forth.
No.
No, we have to get a deal done. Dana, we have to get a deal done.
Oy
When
vey.
you look at the significance of this to the families, to the people who are living in that region, a deal is not only the right thing to do to end this war, but will unlock so much of what must happen next. I remain
Much longer.
committed, since I've been on October 8th, to what we must do to work toward a two-state solution.
Okay.
that
All
is
right.
brutal.
So I'm not going to change anything, but I'd like to see a deal made. But in the meantime, we're just going to keep giving Israel weapons. And this really shows you how the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans is rhetorical. It's rhetorical. Yes, she would have done exactly what Biden did, express concern while facilitating a genocide. Yeah, it's rough. That's rough. And by that time, the assault stories had been well debunked. And yet here she is repeating these, I think, 7-8 months after exposés had been written, after the New York Times had to withdraw its major story about that in light of lack of evidence and serious flaws in the journalistic process that had been undertaken, and the inexperience of the journalist who wrote the article. There's months after that she's making that claim in her interview. Now, we're not going to play this partly because 60 Minutes is a bitch, and partly because she just said the same thing in the 60 Minutes interview a few weeks after that. But Brianna commented, in response to a straightforward question about whether America has any influence to prevent Netanyahu's crimes, Harris just keeps repeating that America is committed to helping Israel defend itself. This is a genocidal ideology that should be resisted. Yes. And hey, straight from the horse's mouth. This is from October 2024, a few weeks before the election. A senior Israeli air official tells Haaretz that if not for the endless supply of U.S. weapons delivered by the Biden-Harris administration, its aggression against Gaza could have only lasted a few months. A vote for Harris is a vote for genocide. This is from Haaretz. The senior Air Force official told Haaretz that without the American supply of weapons to the IDF, especially the Air Force, Israel would have had a hard time sustaining its war for more than a few months. So, okay, you put all that together, you're categorically ruling out an arms embargo. And you already have reporting saying, yeah, no, we would not be able to sustain this without arms. But you were asked, hey, would you do an arms embargo? You were asked more than once. And you emphatically, one of the first statements put out by your campaign was that you would not do an arms embargo. So, yeah, if Kamala had been president, she would have said stuff that would have sounded nicer than what Trump says. You wouldn't have gotten Kamala Gaza AI
Right.
videos, that kind of thing. But the effect would have been the same. It's the same exact policy as the Biden administration. The fact that she wants to get up there now and tell you, well, no, behind the scenes, I was saying something. You were running for, you could say that if you had never run for president.
Right.
That you could plausibly say, well, I was the vice president. It wasn't my place. But behind this, you can't say that when you
running.
had the
Yes.
world's largest megaphone and you had every political incentive, as is certainly clear now, but in many ways was clear at the time. Look at what the conversation was leading into the election. There were so many people like ourselves. Me and Keaton talked about this when we were setting up the show. Yeah, man, if Kamala had come out and said, I'm going to stop arms sales to Israel on day one, we and a lot of people who nonetheless couldn't stand Kamala Harris for the sake of the Palestinian people would have felt an obligation to say, yeah, we're going to vote for Kamala and we recommend that you do too on that alone, because it would have been a meaningful difference.
Of course.
We were given no reason to vote for her. And there is, in spite of the fact that a lot of people want to make it about other things. And yeah, man, are there other things at play, including absolute lack of talent? Yes. Okay. Black woman, is that a hard road? Sure. But there is a lot of polling to show that if she had taken a different position on Palestine, she would have flipped certain states that would have allowed her to win.
Large majorities of swing state voters wanted an imposed ceasefire in the run up to November. Not just swing state Democrats, swing state voters. So when you look at the results, she lost those Rust Belt states. She didn't lose them by that much. Lost them by a point and a half. You're telling me you couldn't make up 2 points by promising a ceasefire? You say, look, we're imposing a ceasefire on day one. If Israel breaks it, we're cutting off all aid. That's it. At that point, I think
would have changed the whole conversation.
Would have changed everything. Yeah,
and it would have put Trump on the back heel. He would have had a very hard time responding to that.
Right. Because this war is not a war. This genocide is not popular with independents either. So there's a lot of ground you can kind of maneuver there.
Well, and you have a lot of people, again, like ourselves. I don't think we're the only ones who would have felt that way. Like, I can't stand her. But, I mean, I can't stand him either. You got to remember, a lot of people who vote for Trump don't like Trump.
Exactly, yeah.
So you give them a strong enough policy reason not to vote for Trump, yeah, you can win a lot of those people over.
Yeah,
you have your diehards, but that's a very small minority of people. Most people voted for him reluctantly.
Right. Yeah, I mean, a perfect analogy would be the Mamdani race. Like, I'm not big on Mamdani, but if I lived in the city, I would vote for Mamdani because there's a meaningful difference between Mamdani and Netanyahu's lawyer, right? So if she had said, we're imposing a ceasefire on day one, and if Israel breaks it, all aid cut off, at that point, there's a meaningful difference between her and Donald Trump. I would have voted for her. She made no meaningful difference known. Because she doesn't support her husband's a fucking Israel supporter.
She married her AIPAC handler.
She's full of fucking garbage. She's just so full of garbage. This is why it's unbelievable that anyone would buy this book, much less go to an event to hear her yap about it.
Well, and to that point, okay, so this was some of the chatter from the Democrat chuds. Janine, high priestess of anti-fascism, self-designated. She should tell them, well, you didn't vote for me. What am I supposed to do? How do you know that? How do you know that?
Yeah.
Giselle, you have a lot of people in that space who still vote blue no matter who. It's not necessarily a foregone conclusion they didn't vote for her. We didn't vote for her, but we don't know about the protesters. Giselle, I would like to know what exactly they want her to do. This is type of directionless protest does nothing but distract from protest that actually moves the conversation to action. Well, I would say the protest is about shifting the Overton window to rule the kind of bloodless ghoul like Kamala, who would empower a genocide and then try to disown it to make it impossible for her to do that in order to improve the decisions that our politicians make by giving them a disincentive to behave like the miserable scumbags they are. Maybe, you people claim to really believe in the Constitution and the First Amendment and norms and guardrails, maybe you should look into the purpose of political protest in a theoretical democracy. But this is the one that's really crazy and shows how fucking moronic and uninformed these people are, even though they like to present themselves as the smart ones. She's not in power, and she recognizes the Palestinian suffering. She recognizes it. Somebody should drop leaflets about that on Gaza
We recognize
City.
you.
We recognize it. What exactly are they even protesting? What are they protesting? Did they protest Trump yesterday at the UN? Are they protesting J.D. Vance in North Carolina today? This is mental illness.
There's been protests at the UN all week.
Quite a few said this. Trump was at the UN up the street yesterday. Not a peep from these idiots. But yes, yell at the woman you refuse to give power to actually do anything. How fucking ignorant could you be to live in New York and say something like that?
Right.
Oh yeah, no. Trump, when Trump shows up, it's quiet. It's quiet. It's tea at the plaza when Trump shows up. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Abolish Israel and anti-Trump protesters create NYC chaos around UN. Nearly 60 arrested. There you go. It's a pretty big protest for you to miss.
Yeah.
Write a comment. Here's people, old lady being arrested. Yeah, no, nothing. In fact, there's an event tomorrow. I want to shout it out. There were events all week of action for Gaza, events all week during this UN meeting. And there's another one tomorrow starting at 9 a.m. for anyone who can make it. If you're in the area, Doctors Against Genocide. Gaza's hospitals are taking their last breath rally. It'll be all day, starts at 9 a.m. They say to get to 46th and 2nd, or as close as you can get. It's a little unpredictable with the barriers and blockades they put up. They say, look for the Palestine flags. So maybe you fucking geniuses want to go out and join the protest against Trump and Netanyahu and the administration, but you won't.
Right.
And that's why you would say something that's stupid and ignorant, because you'll show up to a town hall from one of the worst presidential candidates in the history of presidential candidates, somebody who never won an election, not in a primary, not in a general, who has never won a fucking election. You will pack out New York City's town hall, but be completely unaware that a few blocks away, at the time that the town hall was taking place, there are massive protests against Trump going on.
Yeah. Exactly. And you don't have to worry. Kamala will not be there. She's going to be on to the next town peddling her bullshit book.
Yeah.
Trying to whitewash how just extraordinarily negligent she and her entire party were during that whole campaign and beyond that whole campaign. It's just really like, you really can't hate these Democrats sufficiently. Like, even on the level of Trump and everything that's going on now, like, you had a responsibility to do your best to win, just to win, to win, never mind everything else, right? Nothing. I mean, it really dates back to Barack Obama beating the Democratic establishment and then elevating the worst factions from that Democratic establishment that he defeated by putting in Biden as vice president, Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State. Every decision from there flows in the wrong direction, and here you are.
Well, in the end, he didn't beat the Democratic establishment. He convinced them he'd be a better avatar.
Right. Well, that's what I it's quote marks. He beat them, right?
Yeah.
Right. What he outmaneuvered the old model.
Yeah.
Right. That's
exactly
what he did.
Please clap.